Hello witches, and welcome back to Activist Witch, where we discuss witchcraft and activism. You can call me Isha, my pronouns are she, they, and in today's video I'm gonna do the Tarot Ethics tag started by my bestie, dare I say, Sapling Tarot. Hopefully I can give you more information about how I approach tarot as a person and as a professional tarot reader. Without any further ado, let's get into it. But before we get started, if you want to help us keep producing content, here's how. You can now become a producer via Ko-fi or on Patreon. On Patreon it costs slightly more, but you also have ad-free videos and so many more perks. An entire list is on Ko-fi and Patreon, linked down in the description below. You can get a tarot reading with me, Italian style. You can get it on Ko-fi, which is the cheapest option, on Patreon and on Etsy. And on Ko-fi you can also get low-income tarot reading for £5 onwards. Or if you just have £5 to toss our way because you like what we're doing but you can't commit to a recurring investment, you can still leave us tips over a coffee. Every little helps. We hope we can keep doing this, but we need your help to do so. So if you decide to help us this way, thank you so very much. Do you predict the future? How do you explain this? Yeah, so I try not to. There are two approaches that I see to tarot. One is divinatory, so predicting the future. One is archetypal, so what is that archetype from that card telling you or inviting you to think about? I try to do the latter, but I come from the Italian tradition that does the former. And what I try to do is to focus on archetypal, unless something literally pops in my head, according to supposedly intuition, and so I try not to make it sound. I don't like when it sounds set in stone, because I don't think the future is set in stone. But it just makes you aware, this might happen. If this happens, these are ways to approach it, and that supposedly is the rest of the reading. So that's as far as I try to go. So like recently, I've done a reading about the result that a certain thing that I did would have, and the theme was the Tower. And because of that, I was like, well, let me change a couple of things and see if the result changes. So it's that kind of thing that I do. What are your boundaries? What will you or you want to do? How will you respond if those boundaries are pushed? And have you ever bent or broken those boundaries? So actually one of my boundaries is indeed reading or openly saying that I will do a reading, just giving answer in a divinatory way. I don't quite break that, or like I bend it, I guess, as I said before, if something comes into my head. But if somebody pushes me to tell them the future, that is something that I not only I don't do, but it will get you on my black books. It happened once at a live tarot reading. I think Raven talked about it in their Witchcraft X, because they were so shocked when that happened as well. I had a reading with a guy, and they picked their cards, and I read those cards, and they just wanted to know if and when they would find love again because they just broke up. And I read the cards in a way that basically told them, well, focus on this, focus on that, try to do this. So actionable points. And they just wanted to know if they would find love or not, and in how long. And when I didn't give them that, they even offered to buy another reading. And I said, no, you don't ask the cards the same question twice in a row. Like, it's really not. No. And then, on top of that, they came back a third time telling me, oh, this is what ChatGPT tells me about the cards that you pulled in a divinatory way. Do you think it's right? And I was just like, I don't do this. I'm sorry. That was really, really uncomfortable. And that's how you get on my bad books. If something comes to me, I'll tell you. But if you force me to change my reading to read it in a way of tell me the future, tell me how long, no. If it didn't come to me, no, you don't do that. What are your disclaimers? I think it comes when I say I do Italian style, in the sense that 95% I read archetypally, that 5% that might sneak in about divination, it's the Italian style. And there's also stuff about the way that in Italy I've seen cards read, which happened throughout my entire childhood, that has a darker take on some cards, on most cards realistically, especially for the major arcana. I think I talked about it in my first video about my experience growing up within Italian folk culture. And especially the Fool, the Magician, and the Hanged Man, they have much darker sides than how we read those cards in the Rider-Waite-Smith. So sometimes they seep through if the cards around them make me think of them, but that's pretty much it. And other disclaimers are, like my tagline, queer, intersectional, decolonized, witchcraft and tarot. So if you come to me, it's very likely that my understanding of your reading will be filtered through that. Like a lot of the times when I'm asked about work or things like that, my reading of cards will be very anti-capitalistic because it comes through me, like Imogen says as well. Like the cards are also read through my experience. So I think that when you come to have a tarot reading with me, you know that that's the lens that I look at the world with, and so that's the way that I can try and give you advice through the reading. Minimum age for reading. I never thought about it. I think properly, ethically, should be 18. But much like Imogen, I've seen cards read and I've had cards read since I was literally a child. So I don't know. I never had to think or enforce that so far. But I also accidentally have read for legal adults in the last 3 years that I've read professionally as well. So maybe I should think about it, actually. Under the influence, no, don't do it. At least I don't do it. So there are things that, admittedly, Italians are a bit, what's the right word to use? Not scared, but very obsequious, very, very respectful of the cards. And reading under the influence would be one of those things that an Italian person would consider disrespectful towards the cards. And I think I've done it once, and it's been so bizarre that I just don't do it anymore. Is it partially because I come from that vision that you need to respect the cards? Probably also, yes. But yeah, no under the influence. In my case, then you do you, babes. Third-party readings. No. Which is the reason why, and I've been very lucky about that, I've had very, very few tarot readings where people ask me love questions, and usually it's about, how is my love life going to be or stuff like that. Once when I read tarot for Beyond Retro, which is this vintage shop that has different stores around the UK and I think other countries. In 2024, I was the resident tarot reading for Halloween. So whoever was buying for more than like 25 or 50 pounds would also get a tarot reading with me. And the first person that I got really wanted me to tell them about their new relationship that they had with this man. And at some point, that was so uncomfortable. I tried to read the cards that way. And to me, the most important thing was that what came actually was a reverse, either Queen of Wands or Queen of Pentacles, which in my head was absolutely the querent that was in front of me that wanted to control and manipulate things. But how do you say that to the person that has asked you repeatedly to tell them about, to the point that they actually asked me for a clarifying card as well. And I think the clarifying card, which I never do, was this reverse queen. And I was like, babes, that's you. You need to stop trying to control things. So yeah. Groups or couples, no, the cards are, not only the cards are reading you, but also in the way that I do it, you pick the cards. So, I don't know, I don't do one card readings either because there's so much and so little in a card and I need to have some context to tell you something more valuable. So no, I think I read cards for a couple, but in the sense that I first read for one person and then I read for the other. And they were both very happy because they actually saw how their readings would come like this. I didn't know that they were a couple at the time that I did the readings, but I realized afterwards because then one went, it was nice, but not like one reading for a group or one reading for a couple. Medical, no. That's actually something that I refunded someone for because they asked me about surgery I think that they were going to have, and I was just like, no, that's beyond my ethics. I cannot Financial or legal? Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't have as much problem with that. I also do readings for myself a lot in that. So I would feel like it's hypocritical. And I always have the disclaimer of, this is a tarot reading. It's not giving you financial or legal advice. It's definitely not giving you medical advice. And if you decide to undertake any decision based on this reading, I am not liable. I'm not telling you to do anything based on this reading. You shouldn't do anything or take decision based on this reading. Do you or have you ever charged for readings? How much? When did you start Refunds? Yes, I started to read tarot again in like 2022, and I just read it for my friends. And then, because Mediterranean people know the tradition behind it, nobody would have their tarot read without giving me a $5 or something like that. There needs to be an exchange of energy. That's at the very least the belief of people from the Mediterranean area doing tarot or having their tarot read. It's in Italy, it's in North Africa, it's a thing that we know. So it started that way, and then I started on Coffee in early 2024, I think. I started off with the low-income tarot readings because that felt important to me, because I couldn't spend much on a tarot reading myself, so offering that low price was basically offering it to someone that would be in my position. And so it started with the 3-card reading for £5, and then it went to 4 cards, just because I prefer to do a 3-card with a team card, so it's 4, but the price didn't change. And when did I start off? I think originally the 3-card reading full price was £25, now it's 30 after 3 years. And then I added 7-card readings, which are actually the kind of readings that I do myself with my deities and with my nonni, just because it's mostly the same spread with a team card, but instead of having just 1 card for position, you have 2. And so you have 3 columns. And then immediately it has changed in the sense that I think that started at £45, and it's now at 50 or 55. And it's now different, but the cheapest way to get a tarot reading with me is Coffee, because Coffee takes the least cut from it. It takes like 5%. You can also buy my tarot reading on Etsy and on Patreon, but they cost more because Etsy and Patreon take more, so there's more of the percentage of that. If you're already used to that, by all means, you're welcome to do that. If you want my advice, the cheapest option is on Coffee, which is also the reason why the only option for the low-income tarot reading is on Coffee as well. In the last year and a half, I had to limit the amount of tarot readings that I do. So every option on Coffee, I don't think that Patreon and Etsy let me do that. Etsy lets me do that, but thankfully I don't get many tarot readings through Etsy, but you know, it's an option. They are limited in number. So every month there's 5 low income and 5 or 7 for every other option. And it's probably something that I will have to review soon enough, but I haven't thought much about that at the moment. Usually it takes me about 4 weeks tops to do a reading, because once I start, it takes me like a couple of hours. I am considering starting to do tarot readings face-to-face, like on Zoom or on Google Meets, stuff like that, just because it would also take me less time. It would take me more energy in the moment to like find a moment that we can both be there. But the way that I spend time on a reading, otherwise it's very, very long and it takes me a lot. What are your qualifications, skills, and experience? I think it's an interesting concept to come into tarot. I've read stuff, but realistically, the main qualification that I feel that I have, it's how long I've been around cartomancers, especially as a child. There's so much that just stuck with me, and I don't think that it's magic or weird or tarot because I've just been used to it. Like, one of the things that I started to do when I consciously looked at tarot as in, oh, this is a form of witchcraft and I want to look into witchcraft, it's exactly because there's stuff that I remember. Like, I obsessed over finding a specific deck of Sibylle because it's the one that I used to see around the cartomancers that my mother went to. And indeed, it's a deck that was made in like 1979. And when I found it, I was just so excited because I was like, oh, I used to play with this as a child, basically. So I think that that's the Italian style, whether I like it or not, is the main thing. And then, admittedly, there's a lot that I have looked into and read to sort of update the vision that I have of tarot, which was very strict in Italy. Like, Italy, I don't know if still, but the cartomancers that I used to go with my mother to, they still had the very, close-mindedness about, oh, the court figures all represent people, and swords is someone, King of Sword is a man with blonde eyes, and King of Cups is a man, it's the other way around. But it's that kind of thing, and it's very, very strict. That's not necessarily a good thing. So there is sort of an update that I've done with myself in the last 3 years, with more ways to queer the vision of tarot, which I really like. It's not just in a LGBT way, but queer as in break the boundaries of. And Charlie Claire Burgess' Radical Tarot is probably the main source for that. And also their book about the game Marseille. It's a very interesting way to re-understand Marseille, because again, most of the people that I've seen reading tarot in my childhood, they were reading Marseille. So that's what they read in Italy, which is bizarre because now I read Rider-Waite-Smith for people. I don't read Marseille for people. But I basically try to bring those two systems together. Why? Because experience, because that's what I've seen. CPD continues, how do you keep learning? Reading helps. Radical Tarot really taught me new things about tarot. And also, when I am going on to a new deck, if it has a more substantial book than just a little white book, I really like to study it. I've done it recently with the Pastoral Tarot, which is a deck that I've had for like a couple of years. Raven gifted it to me, and I never quite went into it, and I should have. Like, I really, really like the book and the way and the takes that it gives on the meanings of the Rider-Waite-Smith. It makes me notice details that I don't think much about for those specific cards. So that's also a way, when a tarot deck comes with a substantial book, I like to go through the book. And basically I keep a deck active. I don't count much, I don't necessarily mark it on the calendar, but ideally I keep it around for a month. And all the readings that I do for people that bought them from me, then it's going to be on that deck, and that gives me an excuse to study the deck as well. How do you manage confidentiality? I do my readings through my Proton email, which is supposedly very, very safe. And what else? Like, nobody else has access to anything. I don't use pictures that I've taken of a reading for anything else other than that. Like, when you see pictures of tarot readings on my Instagram, is readings that I've done to myself or to Raven, but it's never that kind of thing. I would like to find a way for people to leave me reviews, because it's on Ko-fi it's not obvious. You can't leave direct reviews. People can on Etsy, and somebody has, but again, on Etsy they cost more. I would like to find a more direct way for people to be able to leave me feedback. Maybe I'll do a Google form or something like that. But yeah, confidentiality is, sometimes I don't even remember when you come back and have a reading with me that you've come through and had a reading with me before, which actually would be ideal though, so that I remember and picture who you are. But no, technically it's the good and bad of my readings. Every time that you come to me with information, it's that. I think the one thing that people might get slightly off is that with a tarot reading with me, I ask you for your preferred name, your place that you are in now, and your date of birth. And I don't necessarily need the birth year, but that is my personal way when I need to focus and shuffle the cards and pick the cards for you. To me, those are unique enough that when I think of you, basically, the universe knows who I'm talking about. And that way I can cross-reference data to, okay, this name, which is currently in this place, which was born on this date. It's like in Stargate, when you need the 6 points to go into and find a place in 3D. That's what I do with date of birth, name, and current place. But that also is just on Proton. And yeah, it's not even on the PDF that I do the reading for you. There's just your preferred name there. So yeah, nobody gets to see that. It's nowhere. Would you upsell other products or services during a reading? No. That's capitalism at play. Nope. We don't do that. If you want something with me, those are the options. You can come and have it with me. Will I tell you to buy more or come back? Nope. No. You decide. I offer a service, you decide if you need a service or not. Which is why I also don't promote much, which is something that I should reconsider. Not so much for the upselling. Again, that's never going to be a thing. But mostly because this is the closest thing to a job that I have, on top of like just the fact that I live based on the welfare and the disability that I have. And I would like for this to become my proper job if I can manage in time and energy. Until I figure that out, though, there's no point in even promoting very loudly what I do. You find out every time. There's a link here, but other than that, yeah. Is it important to you to keep your readings objective and non-judgmental? How do you manage biases and projection? It has happened a couple of times that I pulled cards and they seemed to be reflecting something that was happening in my life rather than theirs. So when I notice that, I try to not go for what's obvious to me. Because, yeah, one thing is intuition, but one thing is indeed projection. So for those times where I have that feeling, I spend extra time and care to make sure that I am considering all the meanings and all the sides of that card beside what would apply to me in that moment. On the matter of biases, I would say that that's partially the reason why people come to me. Like, my bias is liberation, is anti-capitalism, it's feminism. So people know that I read through that lens, and hopefully it's actually what helps them. On the matter of judgment, no, there's never judgment, even when there should be, apparently. Like, I remember a very, very bad experience that I had still at a live market, because this person came to have a reading with me. I gave them the reading. I think the star came out, and I'm usually very positive about the star because I have slight bias, because I'm an Aquarius. A star is the card of Aquarius. And from experience, I've learned that it's just a positive card because it comes after a very, very low moment in your life. So I gave this reading to this person that was like extremely positive. Oh, you've been beaten down, but don't worry, like things are getting better. And then at the end of it, they start with their shtick and they are a turf. And the reason why they have been beaten down is that you can't say anymore that people are based on their genitals. And I was just there going, you need to go now, and this is getting scary. And what part of queer, intersectional, decolonized did you not understand to think that I could be one of yours? So maybe I should be more judgmental. What do you consider sensitive topics? Definitely health. Definitely when, yeah, if there was a third party reading, asking about the feelings or the actions of someone else. What else is a sensitive topic, my love? What do you consider a sensitive topic in reading?
There's the points where someone asks a question about where it's clearly they're just incredibly marginalized.
Yeah, I do try to be very, very mindful. And that's also part of what I don't tell people what to tell me about their life in their question, but if it seeps through that there's a systemic issue, I am very, very mindful of not expecting the cards to, give solutions that are just, oh, pull your bootstraps. No, again, because of my bias, because of my lens, I am very mindful about the system. And there are cards that I will read in the sense of, if this is oppressing you and you can't do anything about that, you can do something about the energy that you put in the work that you put into things. So yeah, that's, I think, something that I also try to be sensitive about. How do you handle difficult readings or bad cards, or you can understand? So I can't say that I've never understood cards, although the option that Imogen gave in their video is really interesting. Go check it out. Apparently they had a very blank reading with someone that was wearing like tourmaline or one of the black crystals. I'm not a crystal girly either, but it was very interesting to hear. I can't say that that ever happened in that sense. It has happened. The famous like bad card. I will not go around saying that I don't fear bad cards. I look up to people that can handle them with more grace than I do. But I'll be honest, if in a reading, especially a reading that I do for someone else, I have a 10 of swords, a 3 of swords, or a tower, I panic a bit. I will not lie. I think one of the best examples of that, of how I tried to not necessarily keep it positive, but keep it pro-positive, so what can you do, was the reading that I did for Vonnie, the Vonniness. I'm talking about it because she did a review, so it's open, it's public. I'll actually link it down in the description below. And I know because I think the team card for her was the 3 of Swords, and I was like, what has happened in your life, girl? And I tried to sort of put together, and I was like, okay, maybe nothing bad has happened, and so it's just that. If it has, and if you had this kind of betrayal, and if you had this kind of heartbreak, because of the other cards around, I think you have the means and the ability to get out of it. There's a lot of work to do, but if your fear is that you will not be able to on your own, no, you can, because I think there was also a King of Wands that I identified with her, all of the kind of stuff. And then it turned out that, without me knowing it, she had just left her husband, who was abusive, and was just managing as a single mom with her 4 children. So it was just like, oh, I see what a 3 of Swords could be about there. So yeah, I might not be comfortable with those, but I will read them. And if it's just something that I personally don't know what to think about a 3 of Swords, rather than there is heartbreak, there is something that pains, and sometimes it's out of our control. So it's more about reading around those, and I was like, okay, what actionable things there are to heal from this heartbreak, that kind of thing. Recently, I've had a personal experience that has sort of changed the way that I see the Tower. Maybe I should have had it before, but I did have trauma with the Tower, in the way that tarot cards work for year cards. My tarot years have always been very, very dramatic upheaval. And I've had it recently in a reading that I understand what it referred to afterwards. It wasn't that terrible. I didn't think it was that terrible, but it went and put a kink in a foundation that I thought I had. And so I started to understand the Tower as in, yes, it is something that you count on that is going to come down, but maybe you were counting on it in a sort of delusional way, and the foundation was already not there, so it needed to come down. Is it more positive? I think it gives it the spin of, if it wasn't this, it had to be something else. Like, this was not there to begin with. This was your idea of something, but it wasn't really there. So getting into that mindset is changing the way that I see the Tower. Is it a good card? No, of course it isn't. But, you know, it's when something needs to burn down so you can build on the ashes, and the ashes are fertile. Oh my God, that was it. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you, Imogen, for doing this tag, because it's really interesting. If you want to get a tarot reading with me, I told you, mainly on Ko-fi, but Patreon and Etsy are also options. You find all the links down in the description below. And until the next time, I really hope that we can hex the patriarchy together, because there's need for it.